It'll be Joyful Church. I'm excited to give you a little bit of a heads up on the message for Sunday. It's going to be the last one in our series on Colossians, where we've been looking at this continued effort of Paul to refocus us on the overwhelming value of having Christ, or seeing Christ as he is, above all other things in life, worthy of our love, our worship, our adoration, our obedience. There's just no question as Paul continues to teach and return us to that idea of the power of it in our lives and the reality of it in the world. Jesus is above all else. And as we close the message series, we're looking at just the last few verses that Paul writes, and they're just a series of greetings from the real people of the time between the churches. And this is particularly this group of people that are surrounding Paul and are a part of his team that are encouraging the body in different places and then taking the gospel to new places. It's a pretty exciting group of folks, and I'm personally inspired by them. I hope you will be. He introduces the two guys that are going to carry the letter to the Colossians. He sends greetings from Erasmus, and Erasmus is the guy who actually planted that church and a couple of others in nearby towns. So they're really tied to that guy. It's important to them to hear from him, and he sends greetings from some others as well. But in particular, Mark and Luke, people whose letters and writings would find their way into the actual Bible as it was consolidated in those years. So a pretty exciting group of folks that he's with, and it strikes me that this is just a team of people that are on fire for the gospel. They are this commitment to gather around Paul. Paul's in prison, and he's in prison not because of his faith, but because of his obedience to Jesus. And then that has put him in opposition to folks in power, and so they have imprisoned him. And he still has contact in this sort of house arrest scenario that he's in. He's incapable of moving out. He's there at his own expense, but still actively working. And instead of going places himself, he's sending letters. And these are the letters we're obviously reading and studying today. Persecution couldn't stop Paul. It didn't. I love to picture this group of guys gathered around in a room, just planning and praying and working and saying, okay, who's going here? What are we going to send to these people? How are we going to encourage this church? Who's going to this new town? We see this is the most strategic next step for taking the gospel around the world. And so they were just they were on fire. There was nothing that was going to stop them, and that's inspiring. They were poor. They were finding their own way, but they still they just continued to act in obedience to Jesus, because he is above all things, above all else, and they lived it. I hope that OBJ can be a place that is inspired by that kind of missional living, that kind of intensity for the gospel. And here's a little bit of a thought for you. I wonder, is there a person, or are there people that you're meeting with, that you are gathered around and gathered with, that have that kind of on-mission mentality, that kind of heart, that they're thinking with you about how we're strategically acting on the gift of the gospel that we have and giving that gospel away? We need to be with people like that. So I want to encourage you. It's been a great series, I think, and I hope that you are inspired, and that in your life somehow you would see Jesus as above all else. All right, see you.